Some of the slaves couldn't walk anymore. Their legs gave out. They collapsed into the snow. The guards didn't slow down. They unchained the ones who couldn't stand, dragged them to the edge and threw them into the abyss. I watched them fall. No screams. Just silence swallowing them whole. Strangely, I didn't feel fear. Because I already knew, this wasn't the worst fate waiting for us. The cold kept gnawing at my body. Chains burned my wrists. My feet screamed with every step. But I knew one thing. The cold wouldn't kill me. Something else was waiting up ahead. For a stretch after that, I stewed in a foul temper. But I shook it off, drawing in a deep lungful of crisp air, savoring its purity. Back in the real world, air like this was a luxury, choked with fine particulates and toxins, especially in the fringe zones, where the reek of decay clung to everything. In the affluent districts, purifiers hummed away, but the result was always flat and lifeless. Only the elite breathed easy. And here I was, gulping down endless drafts of this pristine stuff like some trust fund air. Getting picked by the infection does have its perks. If only the piercing chill didn't gnaw at me, my soles weren't screaming, and my wrists and spine weren't on fire. The captive train inched upward along the ridge, more of us faltering, collapsing into the frost. Every so often, the guards repeated the process, unchaining those too broken to rise and hurling them over the edge into the yawning chasm to our left. I watched them plummet, a faint twinge of pity stirring in my chest. Poor bastards. Find some rest, you wretched lot. All things considered, my mood held steady. It felt odd to stay upbeat in this hellish ordeal, but ID braced for it. When the infection signs first hit, ID crumbled. Facing death before 18 wasn't easy to swallow. But it only took days to accept it. I visited the spot where ID marked my parents' memory, just scratches on a weathered stump, since I couldn't afford a proper memorial, and added my own line. After that, a strange peace settled in. No more scraping for credits. No more hunting scraps. No more watching my back or scheming ahead. When the absolute worst had already struck, what was left to dread? So, ending up as a thrall, freezing inch by inch, didn't rattle me much. Plus, I knew the cold wouldn't claim me. ID glimpsed the caravan's doom higher up, bones heaped under the drifts. Likely a swarm of horrors waiting, and by the signs, it would hit in hours, not days. So survival was still on the table. Seizing the moment, I pulled up my status once more, focusing to summon the symbols. Last time, rage over the role had blinded me to the traits properly. While not as pivotal as the role, traits shaped your edges, innate tendencies and bonds, sometimes granting subtle boosts or advantages. Destined, trait description. Fate's threads coil snug around you. Rare happenings, fortunate or dire, flock to your side. Some carry blessings, others curses, seldom both. Divine seal, trait description. A whisper of the sacred clings to you, as if brushed by it in distant times. Shadow offspring, trait description. The gloom claims you as kin. Intriguing. I pegged destined as the root of my mess right away. It seemed to doom me to some grim end, fading forgotten in misery. But the details clarified things. It didn't dictate outcomes, it amplified coincidences. Bet that's how I snagged one of those ultra-rare dud rolls, and a twisted version at that. If destined was my core trait, the others stemmed from sanctum thrall. Divine seal was straightforward, it unlocked entry to holy sites in the shadow domain and amplified certain mystic arts. With no shrines nearby and my role far from mystical, it was dead weight. Shadow offspring puzzled me more. ID never heard of it, unsure of its perks, until the sun slipped behind the ridge and twilight deepened. To my shock, my sight sharpened in the murk, clear as midday. That alone was a boon. And who knew what else the shadows might offer? Finally, a win. Wonder if, halt the procession. Set up camp. At the lead guard's bark, we ground to a stop, collapsing in quivering heaps of fatigue. The small widening in the path offered scant shelter behind a jutting boulder, but the freeze still bit deep. The guards corralled us into a huddle for shared heat, kindling a massive blaze at the center, after pampering their mounts, of course. The hefty cart laden with supplies, anchored to our main tether, rolled up to blunt the gusts. Scanning around, I spotted that young guard from earlier, staring up the ridge with a troubled frown. What an oddball. Soon the flames roared. The sturdier captives jostled closer to the warmth, shoving the frail like me to the fringes, backs turned to the icy blast. Our bonds complicated every shift, so the familiar burly man ahead of me ended up stuck despite his efforts. Damn Dominion scum! He growled. Guards roamed through, doling out water and rations. Like the rest, I received a few gulps of frigid liquid and a hunk of stale, fungus-speckled loaf. Ugly as it was, I choked it down. Hunger was a powerful motivator. From the looks of it, I wasn't alone. The twitchy man behind me scanned desperately. By the heavens, even the pits fed better. He spat into the dirt, eyes wild. And most of us blameless sorts in the pits were just biding time for the noose. A few paces off, where the path gave way to jagged stones, a cluster of vivid crimson berries poked through the snow. ID noticed them along the way, their resilience striking against the white. The twitchy man lunged toward them on hands and knees. ID, steer clear of those, pal. It was the calm-toned captive again. I turned to see him properly for the first time, a tall man in his 40s, wiry and oddly refined, with a learned air. How someone like him ended up a thrall was baffling. You and your warnings. What now? Why? The scholar offered a rueful smile. Those are crimson vein. They sprout where mortal blood soaks the soil. That's why they line the thrall route so thickly. So? He sighed. Crimson vein is toxic. A handful could fell a grown man. Damnation. The twitchy man recoiled, shooting the scholar a venomous glare. I tuned them out. Because surveying the site, I finally matched it to the vision from the ordeal's start, the bone-strewn grave buried under snow. And I'd wager whatever slew them was closing in fast. As if echoing my thought, a deafening rumble thundered from above. And in the next heartbeat, a colossal shadow hurtled down from the heights.